So right now we have the legislation that will come to the floor tomorrow. I anticipate and feel certain that we will have a strong bipartisan vote. And we take some pride in the fact that, as I said earlier, congressional Democrats in the Senate and in the House were able to flip this over from corporate trickle-down Republican version to bubble-up worker first, families first legislation. Again, we have some other things we want to do, but first we want to take pride in what happens there. For workers, we were able to get, of course, extended from what the Republicans wanted, and expanded unemployment insurance. This is so very, very important. Of course, in terms of funds that go to major corporations or companies or anyone, the direct condition is that, for example, with the airlines, that the money that is given to the airlines is given to the workers directly. It's just a pass-through. It goes directly to the workers, and have some conditions on for other money that goes to any of these companies, that they have no buybacks, no dividends, no bonuses, all of those kinds of concerns that are so offensive that happened before with federal funds infused into their entities. So we're very happy about all of that. One of the differences, as I said, their corporate down, we're bubble up from workers. I think was demonstrated last night. Can you believe that I think it was every Republican, I think 49 Republicans last night voted in the Senate to deprive those on unemployment insurance of the additional $600 a week. How could it be that in this time of stress and strain and uncertainty about health and life and livelihood, that they would vote that way? But I think it does demonstrate the point that I made, that not about workers first, but the bill got to be there. And I thank the Senate Democrats for using the leverage they have with the 60 votes. I take pride in what we had in our House bill that is in the Senate bill now. So for workers and for families, with all three of our bills, we have put families and workers first.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.